of washing your hands in the morning. There are basically three reasons why we have to wash our hands in the morning. Reason number one, the Alter Rebbe mentions, is that when you wake up in the morning, your neshama enters your body, you become like a new person, and you're like a Kohen coming to serve in the Beis HaMikdash, coming to serve in the temple, and just like a Kohen, before he would serve in the temple, he had to wash his hands and feet. So too, before we begin our service of Hashem, Hashem gave us a new soul, new energy, and our whole purpose in this world is to serve Hashem. So before we begin our service in the temple, everyone is part of the service of Hashem. Therefore, the first thing we do is we wash our hands to begin our service of Hashem. That's reason number one. That's according to the Rashba. According to the Rashba's reason, it will be sufficient to wash one time. Wash one time with a measurement of water called a lug. You wash once, and that'll be enough. Why do we need to wash 3 times? So the reason to wash 3 times is because when you go to sleep at night and your soul leaves your body, so there is a spirit of impurity that comes upon your body. If you slept what's called in the Gemara and Shulchan Aruch 60 breaths, then you have to the spirit of your neshama leaves your body. The spirit of impurity comes into your body. In order to remove the spirit of impurity, you have to wash not just once, you have to wash 3 times. And the Arizal says to wash b'sirugin, one, in order to remove the spirit of impurity. My friend Rabbi Dror Masala, has all these Israeli backpackers coming to him with all kinds of issues, and he recommends to them, when he feels that they've been tainted by magic or other kinds of impurity, wash your hands, say the morning blessings. This says it works. When he sees people like possessed, wash your hands 3 times. I mean, I haven't had too much experience with witchcraft, but I'm sure he has. Anyway, so it's that's the result says. The result says you could wash. If you should switch each time, the Gemara says you have to wash 3 times to remove the spirit of impurity. The result says to switch each time. So that's the second reason why we wash, because of the spirit of impurity. What is the bracha on netilas yadayim? Not the bracha on washing hands. The bracha is on netilas yadayim. The reason we make the bracha on netilas yadayim is because when we wash our hands, we have to take a vessel. We have to use a vessel to wash our hands, and therefore we don't say the bracha for washing our hands, but for taking the vessel. We take the vessel. The vessel is called in time the Gemara on natla, and since we use a natla for washing our hands, that's why the bracha is on the netilas yadayim. So there are those 2 reasons so far. Which one is the main reason? So the Alter Rebbe says that both of these reasons, one because we are going to serve Hashem in the temple, and the other reason because of the spirit of impurity, are both reasons for the bracha. However, the main reason is because we are serving Hashem in the temple. That's the main reason. That's the main reason for the blessing. And that's why the Alter Rebbe says that if you only have enough water to wash 1 time, what do? Do you say a bracha or not? So Alter Rebbe says if you only have enough water to wash 1 time, you still say a bracha. Why? Because the main reason for washing is to prepare yourself to serve Hashem in your temple, in your life. And therefore, although you don't have enough water to remove the spirit of impurity, doesn't matter, because the bracha was instituted for the first reason, the reason of the Rashba. The bracha goes on both, but the main reason is the reason of the Rashba. And therefore, if you don't have enough water, you still will say the bracha on netilas yadayim, because that's the main reason why we wash our hands.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So every morning when we get up, we wash our hands, we have to say the bracha.
Yeah.
How come we don't say the bracha, for example, for Kohen, that they go to say the bracha Kohanim? They don't say the blessing.
It's a good question. Why doesn't the Kohen say a bracha and do brachas kohanim?
So the same purpose, right?
Because he said on his teals.
I mean, not the same, but
That's a good question. I mean think about that. We're going to touch on something else. Maybe we'll be able to go back to your question. Let me think about that. I don't know.
Do we make a bracha in the morning when we're doing, after we say Modanim, we wash our hands? Do we say a bracha then?
By the bed, no. When we make a bracha, when we go by our beds.
The bracha. Do we make the bracha after we say Modeh in our bed?
No, we say the bracha later on after you go to the bathroom, get dressed, you wash by the sink, then you say the bracha.
What if you're attending a baby and you get up
5 times.
5 times? Every time you say bracha?
Every time, no, you don't say bracha.
Every time you fall asleep?
There is a spirit of impurity on your hands, and therefore you have to wash your hands whenever you sleep for 60 breaths, which is considered 30 minutes. If in nighttime you sleep for 30 minutes and you wake up again, you have to again wash your hands to remove the spirit of impurity. If you went to sleep once and you want to sleep a second time, you made a bracha on the first time, do you say a bracha when you wake up the second time?
A bracha or Modeh Ani?
The bracha al Tisadaim. Let's say you wake up in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, you wash your hands, you say the bracha al Tisadaim. Yeah, you wake up bracha Tisadaim in the middle of the night, you wake up, you say the bracha Tisadaim, you wash your hands, and you have some breakfast, and then you go back to sleep. So you have the spirit of impurity in your hands again, but you don't say a bracha al Tisadaim. Why not? Because the bracha al Tisadaim is for becoming a new person, a new creation of Hashem. And you only become a new creation once. And therefore, just like all the other blessings, like the blessing of opening our eyes in the morning, of opening the eyes of the blind, blessing of Matir Asur, Hashem allows us to have movement, those blessings are recited once a day, because every day we become like a new creation.
Even if it's before Alois Shachar?
Even if it's before Alois Shachar, you wake up in the middle of the night, you can still say Antisadayim when you wake up in the middle of the night. However, you could say Meda'ani and you say Antisadayim.
But you said you do that when you get dressed.
Let's say you got dressed. Let's say you started your day at 3 o'clock in the morning.
What if you woke up before Chatzos?
Before Chatzos, you don't say a bracha. You don't basically. You have to wash your hands if you slept for 30 minutes. But you don't say a bracha unless you wake up after Chatzos.
So after Chatzos.
If you're starting your day at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're getting up, you're going to the bathroom, getting dressed, and you're like, all right, I'm ready. Let's go. Bring it on. And you want to have breakfast now, so you could say a bracha on Tisadaim. Having breakfast is not so simple. Before it's a shachar, different subject. What do you want to say? Okay. So if you go back to sleep, although you have a spirit of impurity in your hands, you don't say a bracha. Why? Because the main bracha is only for becoming a new creation, and that only happens the first time. Why don't we say a bracha right by our beds? We don't say a bracha. The reason why do we wash next to our beds? The reason we wash next to our beds is because the Zohar says that you're not allowed to walk 4 amas, which is about 6 to 8 feet, without washing your hands. So therefore, we wash our hands right next to our beds. But we can't say a bracha. Then why? It says in Shulchan Aruch, you can't be sure you're washing the correct way. Why? Because when you wash next to your bed, you might have to go to the bathroom. And if you have to go to the bathroom, then there's a problem of stopping to say a bracha when you have to go to the bathroom. And therefore, the bracha was instituted to be said later, after you get dressed and you go to the bathroom. Then you wash your mouth out. Then you say the bracha al until Sadaim when you wash again by the sink. The Rambam and the Rosh, they say a third reason why you wash your hands. The third reason they say is because of mishmush. Your hands are very busy. They may have touched something which is not so clean, and therefore you have to wash. You have to wash before you daven, before you wake up in the morning. So according to the Ram and the Rosh, since the whole purpose of washing is to clean your hands, you don't have to wash the same way you have to wash before you have a meal. Before you have to have a meal, you have to use a cup, you have to pour, and you have to this whole order. But according to the reason that they say, since the whole purpose of it is only because of cleanliness, there is no reason to use a vessel. There would seem to be no reason to use a vessel, and there would seem to be no reason to make a bracha either. Whenever one time you wash your hands, you should have to say a bracha. And the truth is, according to the Ram and the Rosh, when you wash before mincha, Yosef, when you wash your hands before mincha, according to the Ram and the Rosh, you have to say a bracha. They say the bracha is for cleanliness of your hands before you pray, and so according to them, they say a bracha before. If you wash your hands before mincha, you also have to say a bracha. You don't have to use a cup, but you say a bracha this time because you're washing your hands before prayer. So the halacha is not like them, but we do see from what they say an important thing, that before you pray to Hashem, you have to wash your hands to make sure they're clean before you pray, and that there's actually a pasuk, Erchatz bin kohen kapai lashmi b'kilda b'kol. I wash my hands 3 times a day to say words of praise to you, Hashem. So according to their opinion, before you daven mincha, you have to say a bracha al tisadayim. I've seen people making a mistake. I was like, wow, how did the guy make that mistake? And then I see the Ram and the Rashi. It's not a mistake. That's the halacha. Before mincha is a mitzvah to wash your hands. Yeah, we don't. It's not the halacha. Go ahead.
How can you say until time if you didn't take the plea? You can use a plea.
So it must be according to their opinion that lei plug. Once there's an established mitzvah to wash your hands, even though you don't need to have a kli, still the Chacham didn't want to differentiate between one washing and the other. That's have to say according to their opinion. Good question. So our minhag is going to say a bracha. However, we do wash our hands before mincha. The Rebbe, we know, always washed with a keli, with a vessel, and he washed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before mincha. There's videos, you can see the Rebbe doing that. And if you don't have water, you're supposed to look for water. You're supposed to walk a measurement of a mil. Mil's about 20-minute walk to get water before mincha. Yes.
In the case of Shulchan Aruch, it says that if you don't have water, you can make a bracha. You can wipe your hands on the wall. You can say on the kiosk, on the wall, on a surface. You can wipe your hands on a surface like that.
Okay, well, God willing, we'll get to that in the next class about what you do if you have no water at all. Okay, according to Alter Rebbe, you make a bracha when you have enough water to wash one time. You make a bracha until it's done, because the main reason according to Alter Rebbe is because you become a new creation, and therefore you're washing as like the Kohen would wash his hands before serving Hashem. Yeah.
Is there an issue if you did more than 6, just out of
More than 6?
Yeah, just if you lost count out of precaution or whatever.
The Rabbi Paracher, he would wash, I think he washed 4 times. Paracher. In general, the Rebbe, you see the Rebbe washing, it looks like Rebbe washed once, like it's like very, very like Rebbe washed like this. I don't know the reason for it.
He's pure already, doesn't he?
I could,
Kabbalistically to like 40, 60 times to like get rid of spirits.
40 times wash your hands?
Yeah.
Wow, I've never seen that. Rabbi Zusha Vanapol, he's brought up by the Rabbi Chacher, he brings that not only should you, like the Zohar says, should you not walk 6 feet, you shouldn't even put your feet on the floor before you wash your hands.
Wait, who says this?
Rabbi Zusha.
That's why they keep it next to the bed.
Right.
Under the bed.
Right, and actually, the Rabbi Zusha, what Rabbi Zusha said is as a source in the Zohar. The Zohar says before you should go to sleep, you have to have 2 vessels, one with the water, one to hold the water. So it sounds like from the Zohar you're having it right next to your bed. So, and here Rabbi Zusha brings a proof from a pasuk. The pasuk says Yisatzif b'derech leitev, to stand on a good, not good path. When you get up in the morning and you wash your hands, but you already got up and you put your feet on the ground, you're not in the best place. You want to get up in the morning right before you put your feet on the ground, right to be in a good place. So those are the 3 reasons. Let's focus now a little bit to understand the second reason. The second reason, again, is because of the spirit of impurity. The Gemara says that because of the spirit of impurity in the morning, wake up in the morning, before you wash your hands, you shouldn't touch any openings in your body. You shouldn't touch your eyes, you shouldn't touch your mouth, you shouldn't touch your nose, you shouldn't touch your front or back private places. You shouldn't touch any, if there's an injection, an open wound, you shouldn't touch anything open. Why? The Gemara says it could cause from bring a disease. And the spirit of impurity, which is on your hands, if you touch your eyes, your mouth, your ears, your nose, any orifices in the body, that could bring a illness. And the Alter Rebbe also brings down, you shouldn't also touch any food or drink. Now the Alter Rebbe adds interesting halacha, which is no other parallel. The Alter Rebbe's, we don't know the source of the Alter Rebbe's words, but this is what the Alter Rebbe says. It's very likely the Alter Rebbe had a source, but we don't know what the source is. The Alter Rebbe says in Gemara, you shouldn't touch the drink, the liquid in the gigas in the barrel. So there's a Beis Yosef's understanding of it, there's a Taz's understanding of it. The water, the liquid in the barrel. Why shouldn't you touch the liquid in the barrel? What is liquid in the barrel? So the Beis Yosef says, it's not talking about before you wash your hands in the morning. It's just talking about if you have food, it'll mess up the food if you put your hands in the barrel. What does that have to do with? So I'm going to go sit to get the front door. I think someone's by the front door.
What?
Yeah.
I should open it
Yeah, please.
straight.
Why you should you should. The Beis Yosef says you should not put your hands in the barrel. You're gonna ruin the. Is that ready? Thank you. Are you still calling? Someone's okay. Rabbi Shagalov. Oh, hello. Another 5 minutes. Okay. Beisayis says you shouldn't put your hands in the beer, which is in the barrel, because you ruin the beer. What does that have to do with washing your hands in the morning? If it has to do with washing your hands in the morning, then it's not just beer; it's any food. The Taz says it has to do. The Gemara is talking about someone who hasn't washed their hands in the morning. They shouldn't put their hands into a barrel of water because they're going to ruin the water. Because you're not, if your hands are impure and touch food, it ruins the food, and therefore you shouldn't put your hands in the water. That's what the Taz says again, to ruin the food. The Alter Rebbe doesn't learn like either of them. The Alter Rebbe says we're talking about a situation where you have water for all your family to wash their hands. If you put your hands in the water, it will ruin the water for washing your hands. If you put your hands in the water, now in Shulchan Aruch it says if you wash your hands with water, it's called Maim Sheichin. It's called water which has been used for washing, and therefore it's no longer kosher to wash your hands. The Alter Rebbe is referring to a situation where you're not washing your hands. If you dropped a pin, you dropped something, you dropped a jelly bean in the water. You want to pick up the jelly bean. The water does not become invalidated. However, in the morning, before you wash your hands, just like if you touch food, it's invalidated. You shouldn't eat that food is a problem. Similarly, you shouldn't touch water at all, not not to wash your hands. Just to put your hands in the water is also an issue, and you shouldn't. That water is as a problem if you put your hands in the water before you wash your hands. If you just put your hand in water in general, not in the morning, not before, not after you've slept, doesn't ruin the water. But in the morning, when you touch your hands, if your hands touch that water, it ruins the water. Therefore, Allah says you should not touch the water that's prepared for your family. What happens to that water afterwards?
Wait,
That's,
only the other says that?
yeah,
How is the water from the tumah with?
from the tumah, from the impurity. It's ruined. What is it ruined for?
Like your thumb in the megalvash when you're holding it. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, you should be the family master. Very good.
Then you gotta pour it out, you get walking.
I don't know if you have to pour it out, but you shouldn't do it. Let's say it that way.
But if you did it though,
That
what do you
makes
do?
sense.
What do you do in that emergency?
If you do it, you're supposed to wash your hands. You're not losing much. You shouldn't drink the water, but you're just washing your hands. What's going to happen? Wash your hands afterwards. So wash your hands again. Wash your hands again. At least by your bed, you shouldn't walk without washing your hands. And wash your hands. You wash your hands again.
Water, you're gonna wash your hands with
You should wash your hands for sure.
It's also the same tumah that if you put food under the bed, the same tumah.
I don't know if it's the same tumah or a different tumah. I don't know. I would have to ask Rabbi Dror. He's experienced, with different kinds of witchcraft and tumah. Anyways, getting back to what if you have people in your home that housekeepers, non-Jews, they're touching food, they didn't wash their hands. So the answer is it's only a Jew who has a holy soul. Alter Rebbe says when the soul leaves, impurity likes to latch on to where there's purity. Therefore, by a Jew, since a Jew has an neshama, when his neshama leaves, the impurity tries to go into his body and stays in his hands. By non-Jew, they don't have the whole concept of impurity. I'll get there in a second. Go ahead.
That's why people who prepare food for other people should be sure to never wash it, or wash 3 times before they prepare the food.
Okay? Regarding children, so the Alter Rebbe says that the best thing is to be careful even from the age of education. Really, you have a neshama, just because you have a neshama, so when the neshama leaves, impurity comes in your hands. But it mainly comes in after bar mitzvah. So after bar mitzvah, you have a lot of mitzvahs you're doing. You do a lot of mitzvahs, and you go to sleep, therefore impurity comes into you. However, the Alter Rebbe says, Daniel, even before mitzvah, you should be careful. And even after the bris, the Alter Rebbe says it's even better to be careful after the bris, not to let before the baby touches anything, you should wash your hands, because the Alter Rebbe doesn't say it's better. It says, you could say, a person does this, it's considered holy, he's careful to wash his baby's hands even before the baby touches any food. Why?
Right?
What? The Rebbeim washed their hands. Was a minhag of baby? We only know by the Rebbe. We know by the Rebbe. The Rebbe Rashab's on the telegram. Right? As soon as the Rebbe was born, that the Rebbe's hands should be washed before he nurses. But the Alter Rebbe says in Shulchan Aruch that it's better to be careful that children from the age of bar mitzvah, and even better from the age of education. And he says for a baby after bris milah, that's also education, because they're educated from the mitzvah of bris milah. Therefore, after bris milah, he should be careful to wash his hands before he touches food. One more point I want to tell you before I let you guys go. Okay. The Zohar says there are 3 things you're not allowed to do before you wash your hands. You're not allowed in Torah. One interesting point. Rabbi Ber Levin's father, Olav Shalom, the Rebbe's librarian, he had a problem. The problem was he wakes up in the morning, and he wakes up his wife whenever he wakes up, and she can't go back to sleep. What should he do? Should he wake up? Should not wake up? He asked the Rebbe. So the Rebbe said, you should learn in your thoughts. Wake up in the morning, don't wake her up. You're supposed to get up in the morning and learn, but if you can't, so you're allowed to learn before you ought to learn before your thoughts. And the Rebbe, he never heard this before. The Rebbe said, asked them, bring a sefer, Pitzah Shulchan. Pitzah Shulchan says you're able to learn in your thoughts. The Zohar says there are 3 things you cannot do before you wash your hands. You're not allowed to learn Torah. You're not allowed to walk. You're not allowed to put on your clothing. That's why the Alter Rebbe says we should wear at tzitzis at night. Why? Because if you put on tzitzis in the morning, one of the reasons. First of all, is the idea of wearing tzitzis at night intrinsically. But second of all, if you don't wear tzitzis at night, how are you supposed to put tzitzis on in the morning? According to the Zohar, you can't touch your clothing before you wash your hands. And there's all kinds of issues. You want to scratch something. What are you going to do before you wash your hands? So you have to use your blanket or something. That's what's touch clothing. According to the Zohar, you can't touch clothing. There was a Mashpi in Lubavitch, the Rashbatz. He said that if you touch your clothing before you wash your hands, you're blemishing your thought, speech, and action. He was speaking to his nephews. He was crying. He said, "Please be careful. Do not touch your clothing before you wash your hand. Please do not blemish your soul, your thoughts, speech, and action." That's what the Mashpia and Lubavitch would say. Anyway, so we have to be careful.
A blanket is not considered like a beged?
A blanket is not considered a clothing, I don't think. But either way, but for sure, you can't. Once you wash your hands, Alter says you should throw it out immediately. Why? Or you shouldn't have come to forget and use the water and drink from the water. So after you wash your hands in the morning, right away you're supposed to throw out the water. And just last point, because according to the Zohar, you have to wash your hands before you say a bracha, and before you learn, and before you walk. That's why our order of blessing is different than everybody else. According to everybody else, according to the Gemara, you're allowed to say a bracha first. Therefore, what does it say in the Gemara? You say a bracha when you put on your clothing. The last thing you do is you wash your hands. According to Zohar, you can't say a bracha before you wash your hands, and therefore that's what we do. We don't wash our hands till after we do. The first thing we do is we wash our hands. That allows us to touch clothing and to walk around, and we say a bracha again once we get up, go to the restroom, and get dressed. Then we say and wash our mouth out. Then we say the bracha, and we wash again, and we say bracha and this. Any other questions? Yeah.
A question not really related to Nagel Vas per se, but before davening, I've heard was a Kabbalistic thing of before you put on film before davening is to make sure you're clean with a wet cloth, so you have no direk, no nothing like that before you go put on film. Is this a Kabbalistic thing?
Shulchan Aruch says it's be clean. Yeah.
You have to do it before you daven every time. Make sure, like
it's be clean when you daven. You have to be clean.
Like a wet cloth specifically.
If you're not clean, but if you're clean, then I mean, people get up in the morning, they get a shower, they're good already, right? I just want to mention Kabbalah, and Zalman was giving me some patience today. So one more thing, there are 3 times we wash our hands. The previous chapter says we wash our hands before we get up in the morning. We wash our hands again before we daven. Wash our hands before we eat. The previous chapter says water is wisdom, and there are 3 times you need wisdom. You need wisdom when you wake up in the morning, you have pure impurity in your hands. That's why the previous episode said people wake up in the morning, they right away they worry. Why they worry? Because there's impurity in your hands. That's caused you the first thought to be worries. Wash your hands immediately. Second thing is, the second piece of wisdom we need is to know why we daven, to know before whom we're standing. And that's the second reason we wash our hands. And the third time we wash our hands is before we eat, to know why we're eating. What's the purpose of eating? Chaim, any other questions? Shkoyach. Mandy, you have the schus. You know that.